Good morning. Today is Sunday, August 25th, and it's about 11:30 actually, to be exact. And this is just a quick garden update. The beans are doing great. These are the colors. I keep cutting them back because they keep getting attacked by aphids. The cucumbers are coming in. I have a bigger one somewhere on here. Callaloo needs to be cut and harvested. And here's another one. I just picked one yesterday. And here's an even bigger one. So in this green stalk is just beans, cucumbers, and callaloo. And oh my, this is entirely too big. I need to cut this way back. And I did harvest the cabbages, but I left the roots in and they tend to resprout if you don't completely pull them all the way out. But yeah, I have not picked a bean yet. I plan on taking all the beans out of the garden at the end of the season to use them as dried beans. I did make some juice yesterday. I cut some of the pink celery finally since spring, and I did combine that with the carrots that I took from the garden and a pineapple, some ginger, and cucumbers from the garden to make a juice. Over here in the back, this pumpkin has completely taken over the back of the yard. I keep having to take any stray branches and kind of move them back so that they don't encroach on the walk space, because my husband will mow right over it. And we have a few fruits coming, and the bees are busy working. I know for sure that there's one that got pollinated. It's in here somewhere. There's a fly in there and cucumber beetle. Let me see if I can find that pumpkin that got pollinated. Yep, here it is. This thing is massive. There might be more, but I can't tell because I can't get all in there. And on this side, it's some kind of cowpea. I know they like the hotter later part of the summer, but I have yet to see any kind of flower or bean come out of this thing, but it is massive. And so is the Jerusalem peas, which is on the opposite side. And I had planted another kind of bean down here. I don't know what it was. I thought it was a bush bean, but it turns out it's a pole bean because it ran up here too, and it's also attached to this trellis. And the one sunflower that made it is almost done with. Bee is still enjoying it a little bit. And my volunteer tomato is a yellow variety, because there is, I don't know if you can see it, it's a yellow cherry type tomato. And that tomato itself is actually quite tall. It's definitely well over my head. And on the other side of this is another pumpkin, the one that volunteered. Here's another pink celery. And this one has a bigger pumpkin down in here. And I'm hoping I got more pollinated, but I'm not sure. There was one back here I was hoping got pollinated, but I don't think so. Yeah, I'm just really impressed with how this whole thing turned out. I'm not sure if I'll get any Jerusalem peas, but I just love how lush and beautiful and green this all is, and the fact that the soil itself is going to be amazing next year because the beans were planted there this year. Beans are nitrogen fixers. They pull nitrogen out of the air and they fix it in the soil itself. So whatever plants here next year is going to do great growth wise because of that, because there's extra nitrogen in the soil. A sign that my husband will mow over anything that encroaches in the walkway. Not too much else going on in the garden this year. Most of the garden is pretty much dead, tomato wise anyway. The sweet potatoes, the bunnies kept eating them, so I don't really have much going on in here. Maybe. This is parsley, I think. I can't remember. And I had some leeks that were in here that I finally transplanted, and they're in there, so we shall see what they do. Tomatoes are pretty much done. They all look like this. And we got some jalapeno peppers. I have some Scotch bonnet peppers. More jalapeno. More callaloo that needs to be cut. I think these are collard greens, the ones that I took forever to put in. Some more purple beans, a carnation plant, more callaloo that need to be cut. I have some in the freezer already, that's why I'm not like rushing to cut that and put it in. One of the three that were on this side of the rampicante or tromboncino squash. Coming on the other side, this is how you test to see if it's ready to pick. You poke your nail into it, and if it does that, it's not ready yet. It still needs to cure on the vine. I took 2 of them off already that are fine, and surprisingly enough, once I took those other ones off, the plant began to set more fruit. Like, it was always setting fruit, but they would just kind of shrivel up and die off because the plant could only support so many. And look at this bug. This is a bad bug. I don't know if you could see it. Nope, it moved. Yeah, so pause. I didn't get him. He got away. So I got this one and then 2 more that set over here. That was I was happy about that because the other one, the red curry, that gives me the small red pumpkins, actually got killed by the squash bugs. This is the dried up remnants, and this is all still the rampicante. So I'll get 6 giant squash off of this plant, these 3 that I put here. That's pretty amazing because everything else the bugs kills. Which is one of the reasons why I bought the variety, because it's pretty squash bug resistant, and it will kind of fight off the other most of the other things that usually kill my garden squashes. So this is what happens. So these new fruits right here, it's turning yellow and it's going to shrivel up because the plant already has 2 big pumpkins on there sucking up all the energy. So that's the end result. So when these get to size, I cut those off, and the new fruits, like I think I saw one higher up. I just saw a baby one. Might create new fruit. Anywho, moving on. Yesterday, I finally put out the lettuce that I had started inside. I did do some bok choy, but not all of them did well because it's still a little bit warm for bok choy. So I have a few in here. And I put some shinjum soy. Love saying that. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but anyway, I put a whole bunch of them right here. And that's pretty much all I started for the fall garden. Mostly just lettuce and some other greens. Oh, and kale. In the various pots that were here along the edge that had tomatoes in it, I obviously took those tomatoes out and I put in a whole bunch of different collards. And over here, I put the purple kale. There's 2 in there, 2 in here, and 2 in here. I only have so much nets to cover. This white butterfly you see flying around, this is the one that lays the egg on the leaf, and the hatches that caterpillar that kind of eats the leaves. It actually started doing that already, which is why I have them covered, which the leaves look like that. They were so perfect when I brought them in from inside. Yeah, when I brought them from inside and brought them outside to acclimate, they were so pretty. Much smaller, but pretty. And this is what a perfectly good leaf would look like. And that's the scarlet kale. Yeah. And where I did plant the lettuce is where I pulled the carrots out of that I used to make the juice yesterday. They weren't as big as I would hope, and I kind of just left the remnants down here so that it could decompose in place and kind of add nutrition back to the soil. And like I said, tomatoes are pretty much winding down, but I do still have some in place that are finishing up. And if you wonder why I have cardboard all over the ground, is to suppress weeds, because I didn't buy any wood chips this year and I didn't have any free wood chips. So I did have a few other lettuce right here. I think these are black-seeded Simpson. So I put a few underneath here. And these are the Cubanelle peppers. I had taken 2 big ones off earlier in the season. And after that, it started pushing out a few more. So those still have a ways to go. And I do have some more bell peppers. And right here, this one is starting to change. So this is bell pepper time because it's getting close to the end of the season. You're going to see a lot of them on the plants. And finally, the eggplant is joining the party. So this I thought was a Bianca, but this is the pink tongue, I think it is, the long eggplant. So I might get a few. Well, I will get a few because here's number 2 over here on the side. We shall see. And it's still flowering. This one has not started flowering yet. And there's another back here that hasn't started doing anything. So at least one will produce something for me this year. And this is what a black beauty tomato looks like when it's fully exposed to sun on all angles. Like, this whole thing is black. Any part of it that's exposed to the sun will become that deep purple color. Like this one, the bottom is in the shade, and so you see it's still green. But this one gets morning sun and afternoon sun, so it is black as it's the blackest one I've ever had all the years I've been growing it. And I want to tie it up so that the birds don't get it, but I can't find what I'm looking for to make that happen. Back here are more purple beans. The watermelon never made it. And I'm not really a bean person, so all of these are going to be like dried and shelled, and I would make something out of it, but I'm not like a green bean type of person. So everything that's in the garden is going to be making some kind of rice and beans or some kind of stew or something, but not a string bean type of girl. Maybe one day. Oh, I'm so excited about the peppers. Over here I have another container with sweet potatoes. I know that there's sweet potato under there, but I don't know how much, because from when the squirrels were digging in there, or the chipmunks, I could actually see potatoes under there. So we shall see. And my beautiful dahlia. I really don't think I'm gonna get anything out of this chayote plant this year. But it was nice trying to grow it. I'm not sure if it's a long season type of plant. I've never grown it before, but I have not seen a flower or anything that would, resemble that is going to do anything productive. My sorrel is finally getting big. I don't know if it's going to do anything, but it's pretty. I don't think I have enough time. Okra, I've been getting okra, plenty of it this year, for real. I just have to find ways to use it because it's coming. They just keep coming. Coming up on the top side, wanted to come around to show the okra flower. So pretty. Yeah, I hope I get something out of this, but we'll do this again next year, sorrel. I'll just have to put you in a better, more nutrition-filled soil than what I did this time. Over here, coneflowers are kind of wrapping up. In the next couple of weeks, you'll see that the birds won't leave this thing alone. It's loaded. It's very enjoyable sitting in the window watching them, eat they pick at these right here, the center part. After I can't remember what I had here, but after that came out, I put beans in. And once again, I thought this was a bush variety of beans, but no, it wasn't. So it's just running all up here. The cucumbers that were here are done, and here come the beans. And the bunnies kept eating this down to nothing. It was this tall, and they had one branch left, and they ate it down to nothing. So maybe this down here will actually bloom by the end of the summer. This is a bee balm, and this is what happened when the birds pick away at the flowers. They drop seeds everywhere, and then you get volunteer coneflowers. I'm gonna have to dig this up and plant this in somebody else's yard, because under here is nothing but baby echinacea plants. And the same thing over here, more baby echinacea plants. And volunteer tomatoes. I didn't plant this. I don't know what kind it is, but we'll find out. But it's doing great. And I still have some cabbage in ground. They're still fairly small compared to my hand. You see it's still very small. So I just actually cooked 2. I like them this size because when they're big, you kind of use part of it, not the whole thing. I like when they're smaller, so I can use a whole cabbage. So what I did yesterday, I used one that was this size and one that was a little bit smaller, and made a good proper cabbage and saltfish. And these plants are still looking good. These are the collards from the spring. And so far, they do look pretty bad. And definitely you can tell that the bugs have been interfering with them, but the newer leaves coming on look much better. Over here, that tomato plant that I put in right here is growing and getting a little disease. This year was the worst. This year, everything has this problem. Septoral leaf spot, it's called. But at least I'm still getting tomatoes. And over here, there was one tomato on here. I did pick it yesterday. And here are more volunteer tomatoes. And these are of a cherry variety because it's fruiting at a very small size. And these are not likely from my tomatoes. These are probably from store-bought tomatoes, so I don't know what I'm gonna get. And more volunteer echinaceas. These are the red variety because the red plant was right here, and this year the bunnies just All my rudbeckias this year are like done. Like they didn't do anything because the bunnies just stayed on it. More evidence that the bunnies were here. And this, yeah, it didn't do anything, and it's not gonna probably do anything because it's just dying. But I just tried. Instead of throwing it in the garbage, I just put it in ground to see what it would do. The plant itself was doing fine. Once again, it was the bugs that, you know, ate back and killed the leaves. So we're gonna get nothing out of that. But I'll just leave it there so the bugs will keep attacking it and maybe leave other things alone. But yeah, not much going on in the garden. Still no figs on the fig tree. And my coleus is looking beautiful. And my lime tree, I think there are 2 limes on it. But the ground cherry has taken over the entire pot, which I do need to cut that out. And the lemon tree hasn't really done much other than trying to ripen the lemons that are currently on it. You could tell that it's about to ripen. The color has changed. But lemons and limes bloom or set new fruit on new growth, and this branch right here is all new growth. So if anything, we'll get some fruiting from the new growth. At least the flowers will set by the time I have to bring it in. This volunteer thistle is blooming. It was 1 stalk. I cut it down and now it's a whole bunch. I didn't even let it bloom, but now it's a whole bunch of dangerous, spiky blooms. But it is pretty. The lemon balm, I cut it back once and I don't need no more inside, so I guess we're just gonna leave it. But it's definitely crowding out my hydrangea. And then there's the chamomile and the lemongrass or the fever grass. I did cut that back and it's inside drying. And these 3, I remember what they are: sweet marjoram, summer savory, and tarragon, I think. Yeah. And they're fine. These small pots dry out very easily, so that's my only issue. So I'll have to change my setup for next year. But yes, the chamomile, which I have yet to pick to make tea. But when the leaves are open like this, this will be ideal for you to pick and make and dry them and make the tea. Now would be a good time for me to do it since I'm not doing anything. Let me do that. Anywho, y'all have a good day. I'm about to go pick some chamomile.